Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Speak On It. I'm your boy, R.W. Coolins. First and foremost, giving honor to the guy who allows me to come to you in this manner on a weekly basis. How's everybody doing out there this morning? Hopefully everybody's tuned in. Hopefully everybody can hear. Hopefully everything is right. It's been 2 weeks. 2 weeks since I've been on. And I'm hoping all the connections right. I had to play with some things and everything. But let's get into this. We got some good mornings coming in. James Battle. Good morning, everyone. Hey, my brother. Appreciate you. Excuse me. Appreciate your continued support, my brother. Appreciate your continued support. Brian Hoodie. Appreciate you and the wife's continued support, man. I appreciate it. Early mornings, late night, early mornings, y'all. I had to stay up late trying to get this show together today, but I got some good information we're going to pass on. And let's go ahead and get these formalities out the way like we always do. 844-904-2665, 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. All we ask is say what you mean what you say. If you decide to call in, no matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. We come in as friends, we leave as family. That's what we do on the Speak On the Show every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. And we're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube this morning. Oh, man. I'm trying to get comfortable in this seat, y'all. Y'all see me moving around. I'm trying to get comfortable again. It's been 2 weeks. I'm trying to get comfortable again. So let me start off with this. So I went on vacation. And very good vacation. I guess I can tell y'all where I went now. Not to brag or nothing like that, but there's an island called Curacao. You know, off of Venezuela, Argentina coastline, down by Aruba. It's the ABC Islands, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. Went to Curacao. Couples trip. Met some good brothers. And one thing that I took away from this trip, other than having a good time with, friends, family, spouse, the wife, Pamela G, shout out. It's not hard. Let me just start off with this here. It's not hard to have a conversation. It's not hard to have a conversation. And I say that because the brothers I met, first time meeting some of the brothers on this trip, good time with them. I'm not going to put their names out there because they may not want them out there in the network. But anyway, I met some good brothers on this trip, as well as their spouses. We had good conversations, and it was good to sit down with brothers. Not that I don't do this often, but it was good to sit down with some brothers that I've never met before and actually have in-depth conversations about anything and everything. And they were legit conversations, and people were out outgoing with the conversations, and no one was hesitant to say whatever they needed to say. And I appreciate that from them brothers. It was a very, very good vacation, but I'm gonna get out that vacation. But if you get a chance, go to Curacao or Aruba. Great, great, great. Lisa Diane Madero, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate the support. Thanks for tuning in. I see you're becoming a faithful listener, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So let's go on, jump into this, man, because there's some things going on that I want to get into this morning. But let's do this before I start so I can get myself together. Let's go and take this break. We're going to start off with this morning. Can I vote? Can I vote? This is the website, www.nass.org. Can I vote? And I also got this up on here for you. This is the website. I'm going to keep harping on this till the election, y'all. Can I vote? And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Can I vote? This is the website you can go to, put your information in, and they ask you some questions here and there. Go in, put your information in, make sure you're registered. Right address, right? All your information is correct. Let's just go there. Make sure all your information is correct. Go in there. Make sure when it's time to vote, you can go without any hiccups, without any problems. Go in there, do your voting, do your civic duty, and get on up out of there without any hesitation. So that's why I'm going to keep harping on this. But the main reason, and let's go back to www.nass.org. That's National Association of Secretaries of State.org. Go in there, check your information. And as I told y'all before I went on vacation, I'm keep harping on this. I'm keep harping on it. Message, keep listening. And this is why I found this the other day while I was perusing. And I can't remember who posted it, but it comes from these folks here. This here that I'm about to put up is from the state of Louisiana. And this is something that, and it's from Black History Unlocked. I just recognized it now. Black History Unlocked posted this. And this was a test in the state of Louisiana back in the day. And it says literacy test. This test is to be given to anyone who cannot provide a fifth grade education, cannot prove a fifth grade education. Do what you are told, and these are the directions now. Do what you are told to do in each statement, nothing more, nothing less. Be careful, as one wrong answer denotes failure of the test. You have 10 minutes to complete the test. Now, mind you, this test was put into effect when Blacks, African Americans were able to vote. This was another hindrance to them being able to exercise their civic duties. You can look at it. I don't know if everybody can see it clearly, but I will post it on my page after the show. But I'll just give you a couple of them that jumped out at me on this. It says, number 3, cross out the longest word in this line. Cross out the longest word in this line. If you're dealing with, if you're not provided with a fifth grade education, a lot of these things you wouldn't be able to pass. Number 9, draw a line through the 2 letters below that come last in the alphabet. If you don't have an education, a lot of people don't know the alphabet. You would know that the last two letters below that come last in the alphabet, you would know that they were Y and Z, because you'd have to go through the whole thing. Now, mind you, it's 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes to complete this test. Number 10, in the first circle below, write the last letter of the first word beginning with L. I'm confused with that one. In the first circle below, write the last letter of the first word beginning with L. In the first circle below, write the last letter of the first word beginning with L. Now, if anybody can figure that out, help me out, because the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the circle. That's just a few. And like I said, I'll post this, and I found it on online, but it's by Black History Unlocked is where you can find this. And they have a page too, Black History Unlocked. Go there, subscribe, follow. They have a lot of history facts on there. But let's get back into this voting. Can I vote? www.nass.org. Make sure you go there and understand that you being able to just make sure that your information is correct is easy compared to what most had to do in order to prove that they had the ability and the right to cast a vote. Just want to put that out there for y'all. Just want to put it out there for y'all. It's crazy when you sit back and think about it. It's crazy. Crazy. This is the roadblocks that they put up, one of many that they put up, other than intimidation and other things, to prevent us as a people from being able to vote. Crazy. COVID-19. Let's go here. Terrence Collins, good morning. Good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate your support, bro. Appreciate your support. COVID-19. So I'm sure a lot of y'all have been hearing in the news and everything that COVID-19 is starting to rear its ugly head again. And they're saying that there's an update to the COVID-19 vaccines that are coming soon, just in time to pair them with the flu shots. And this fall, the first vaccines for another scary virus called RSV are rolling out to older adults and pregnant women. Doctors are hoping that enough people get vaccinated to help avert another triple-demic like last year when hospitals were overwhelmed with an early flu season. An onslaught of RSV or respiratory syncytial virus, and yet another winter coronavirus surge. RSV. I don't know all that respiratory. It deals with the respiratory. It's a respiratory virus. That's what you need to know. COVID-19 hospitalizations have been steadily increasing since last summer, although not nearly as much as this time last year. And RSV already is on the rise in parts of the Southeast. Now, I was reading a lot of articles on this, trying to catch up, find out what's been going on. There's a lot of states that are thinking about putting in masks, a mandatory mask wear again, and all this. They're pushing these COVID-19 shots, the new shots, to get them with your flu shots and everything like that. I'm not one to tell anyone what to do, but I will say this. If you feel that there is a chance that you may get the RSV or the coronavirus or whatever we're at right now with the different variants, get the shot. It's not anything for us, or it shouldn't be something for us where we feel we have to push other folks to do what they need to do for themselves. You're going to have a lot of people out here, political pundits and TV stations and everything, saying you need to get the shot, and you got something to say the vaccines are doing this and doing that. Do what you feel is best for you and your family. Do what's best for you and yours. Because here's the thing about it. We should not get into this back and forth again like we did when the coronavirus first reared its ugly head. It's not worth it. It's not needed. Do what's best for you. Someone says if you got vaccinated, it's up to you whether you want to tell them. It's part of HIPAA. Let's just call it what it is. It's part of HIPAA whether you got the COVID-19 vaccine or not. It's up to you whether you want to tell them or not. But it's not up to you or me or anybody else to force or encourage other folks to get it if that's not what they need to do. If they want to risk the facts of what comes along with the COVID, then let them deal with that. Let them deal with that. You make your decision for you. I'll make my decision for me, and everybody else should make the decision for themselves. Just like the flu shot, anything else that goes on in this country, let them make the decision, and we won't go down that rabbit hole because there's a lot of things we could touch on as far as taking rights away, but we'll go here. But here's what they say, what you need to know about fall vaccinations. Why more COVID-19 shots? The ever-evolving coronavirus isn't going away. Similar to how flu shots are updated each year, the Food and Drug Administration gave COVID-19 vaccine makers a new recipe for this fall. The updated shots have a single target, an Omicron descendant named XBB.1.5. It's a big change. The COVID-19 vaccines offered since last year are combination shots targeting the original coronavirus strain and a much earlier Omicron version, making them very outdated. So what they're saying is they had to update the COVID-19 vaccine for the variants that are coming in now and the Omicrons, and so on and so forth. Pfizer, Moderna, and Novavax all have brewed, I don't like that word, all have brewed new supplies, which means they've created new supplies of the coronavirus, the COVID-19 vaccine. Will they be effective? They're optimistic, barring a mutant, which means another variant displaying its head. Who also needs a flu vaccine? CDC urges a yearly flu shot for pretty much everybody ages 6 months and up. The best time is by the end of October. Some people don't take the flu shot. Some people take the flu shot. It's up to you. Can I get a flu shot and COVID-19 shot at the same time? Yes. The CDC says there's no difference in effectiveness or side effects. If people get those vaccines simultaneously, although one in each arm might be more comfortable. So you can get both at the same time, go in one-stop shop and get boom, 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 get on up out of there if that's what you choose to do. The RSV vaccine is a cold-like nuisance for most people and not as well known as the flu, but RSV packs hospitals every winter and can be deadly for children under 5, the elderly, and people with certain high-risk health problems. Most notorious for inflaming babies' tiny airways, leaving them wheezing, it's also a common cause of pneumonia in seniors. So this is along the same lines of what COVID-19 was. It was attacking people with pre-existing conditions, as well as respiratory and so on and so forth. Giving this information, not to change your mind, but I'm giving this information so you have it and you can make a honest decision on what you need, an informed decision. I'm not the most informant, but I'm giving you the basics. If you need more information, go to the CDC's website, get that information. All right. So COVID-19 back on the rise. If you want to get the shot, get the shot. If you don't want to get the shot, don't get the shot. It's up to you. It's up to you. John Chaney, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. Thanks for your continued support. Get the shot. If you don't want to get the shot, don't get the shot. But don't be out here trying to strong arm other folks to get it just because you did it. And don't be out here trying to strong arm other folks if you didn't get it, not to get it. Let them make the decision, an informed decision on their own. That's all I'm going to say on that. Let's start. You know, this $100,000 a plate. I'm sure most of y'all have heard about this. Donald Trump, former president, as they like to put it in front of his title. Russell Jenkins, good morning, my brother. Appreciate your continued support. Former President Donald Trump hosted a $100,000 a plate fundraiser for former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. And there's a lot of speculation on why he did this, because, you know, both of them, all of them, anybody that's been caught up in these indictments are screaming that they don't have money. So they're putting out fundraisers, they're putting out all kinds of things for the normal everyday citizen like you and me to contribute to their legal defense fund to help defend them from whatever they're being accused or charged with. So they had this $100,000 dinner. $100,000 dinner. Let's think about that for a minute. You charge me $100,000 to come eat some food to help raise money for your defense fund. A defense fund that most of these people that we see that are being indicted, Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, you can go to John Eastman, these lawyers, and all Mark Meadows, all these people who try to establish themselves as being the upper rung of society as far as financially stable, wealthy per se, are asking you and me, the normal everyday citizen, to contribute to their defense fund. I find it ironic. I find it very ironic that they're asking for you and I, amongst others, to donate, as they say, $100,000 to go and have a dinner. And it says Giuliani, a longtime Trump ally who also serves as a fellow Republicans lawyer, is facing the barrage of legal fees, fines, sanctions, and damages relating to his work helping Trump try to overturn the 2020 election and other cases. He was indicted last month along with Trump and 17 others in Georgia for what Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis has described as a wide-ranging conspiracy to subvert the will of the voters after Trump lost to Democrat Joe Biden. That alone tells me that this is what he's being charged with. If you had the money to go out there and try to subvert the election, you should have enough money to defend your stance on why you felt the election was stolen. You shouldn't need help from everybody else to defend what you feel was right at the time that you were doing it. Just me. You may feel differently, but I'm just saying. They're asking for money to support something that he felt that strongly about. He was going on networks. He was talking about the poll workers. They were trying to pull this and that and all these different things. But you don't have money to defend yourself in what you felt was truth. Let me say it again. You don't have the money to defend yourself in what you felt was the truth. He put his Manhattan apartment up for sale back in July for $6.5 million, still on the market. Last year, a judge threatened Giuliani with jail in a dispute over money owed to his third ex-wife. Giuliani said he was making progress paying the debt, which she said totaled more than $260,000. So he had a $260,000 debt that he said he couldn't pay off to his third ex-wife. That's what it said. Third ex-wife. That's what it said. But he only had $260,000 to pay her. But he says he's wealthy. As well as in May, a woman who says she worked for Giuliani sued him, alleging that he owed her nearly $2 million in unpaid wages and that he had coerced her into sex. Giuliani denied the allegation. Now read all that with this $100,000 plea of what they're asking people to donate to his defense fund. So I can lead into this next one. Let me get these good mornings out the way. Russell Jenkins, good morning. Appreciate the support, my brother. Continue support. Thank you. Thank you. April Whedon, what's going on, sis? Appreciate your support. Appreciate your support. I do that to cut into this. Cutting corners on taxes. Now, we know that it's been said that a lot of the wealthy cut corners on how they pay their taxes, to include Giuliani, Donald Trump, and all those people that are probably being prosecuted in these indictments who say they're wealthy, but now they're asking for money. I'm just going to keep reiterating that. But the IRS announced on Friday it is launching an effort to aggressively pursue 1,600 millionaires and 75 large business partnerships that owe hundreds of millions of dollars in past due taxes. Let me read that number again so you really can grasp where I'm going here. The IRS announced on Friday is launching an effort to aggressively pursue 1,600 millionaires and 75 large business partnerships that owe hundreds of millions of dollars in past due taxes. IRS Commissioner Daniel Werfel said that with a boost in federal funding and the help of artificial intelligence tools, the agency has new means of targeting wealthy people who have, quote, cut corners on their taxes. If you pay your taxes on time, it should be particularly frustrating when you see that wealthy filers are not. Werfel told reporters in a call previewing the announcement. He said, 1,600 millionaires who owe at least $250,000 each in back taxes and 75 large business partnerships that have assets of roughly $10 billion on average are targeted for the new compliance efforts. So let me get this right. We have over 1,600 so-called millionaires who owe at least $250,000 in taxes because they cut corners that they haven't paid them. 1,600 millionaires per se, $250,000 each. But ironically, those taxpayers that owe that $250,000, watch where I'm going now, are the same people that are probably donating that $100,000 to go sit down and have a dinner for Rudy Giuliani's defense fund. See how that all rolls together? Because I know you're not. Who do you know off the top of your head that's in your circle, in your network, that has $100,000 to go sit down and have dinner with someone who's being charged with some type of crime, knowing that they probably owe $250,000 or more in back taxes that's going to be coming up? See, you can't make this up about how the wealthy continues to become wealthy by cutting corners, by frivolous fundraisers for legitimate prosecutions. Let's just put it out there what it is. And then at the same time, ask the everyday normal citizen to make sure that they're paying their taxes. Make sure that if you're not entitled to any type of government assistance, that you're not getting it because they want to get rid of it so you don't have an opportunity to get it. But as they always say, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. But all these people have cut corners on taxes. They said in July, the IRS leadership said it collected $38 million in delinquent taxes from more than 175 high-income taxpayers in the span of a few months. $38 million in delinquent taxes from more than 175 high-income taxpayers in the span of a few months. Now the agency will scale up that effort. You know, at the same time this is going on, where the IRS is able to go back and investigate these people cutting corners and everything like that, the House Republicans built a $1.4 billion reduction to the IRS into the debt ceiling and budget cuts package passed by Congress this summer. Let me read that again. House Republicans built a $1.4 billion reduction to the IRS into the debt ceiling and budget cuts package passed by Congress this summer. The White House said the debt deal also has a separate agreement to take $20 billion from the IRS over the next 2 years and divert that money to other non-defense programs. With the threat of a government shutdown looming and a dispute over spending levels, there's the potential for additional cuts to the IRS agency. Now, sometimes you have to sit back and ask yourself, why are they trying to cut the IRS? Not because we're paying too much taxes, not because we're cutting corners on the taxes. The Republicans and Democrats, let's just be real, that sit in those seats in the Congress, the Senate, that are lobbying for their votes. People are lobbying for their votes and everything like that. These are the ones we're talking about when we talk about the wealth. These are the ones we're talking about when they cut taxes. These are the same ones that do the insider trading that we talk about. That they only get fined $300, which is why they continue to do insider trading, because there's no consequences to the insider trading. So when you talk about these bills that are put into play for the Republicans to put a $1.4 billion reduction to the IRS, what they're trying to do is not allow the IRS to build up to the full manpower that they're supposed to have. So they can't do their job to the fullest potential to catch these people like them or like their friends that they have these $100,000 dinners with to make them pay their back taxes. But you and I, let's be real now, you and I get audited like this. We talked about it on here. I got audited. You got audited. We've all been audited before somehow, some way, for maybe $1,000, $2,000, sometimes $500, depending on who you are and how you did your taxes and who did your taxes. But we're talking about millionaires, 1,600 of them that owe at least $250,000 in back taxes. And 75 large business partnerships that have assets of roughly $10 billion on average are targeted for new compliance efforts. This is why I talk about voting. This is why I talk about these things with the politics and everything like that, because we're putting people in office that don't have the constituencies to put them there's best interest at hand. Let's just be honest about it. We have to pay attention to who these people are, who they rub elbows with, who they're friends with, all those who they're in business with. Because what we're finding out, most of these people that consider themselves wealthy or fall into that wealth realm aren't paying their fair share of taxes. One way or another, they're getting write-offs. This dinner I just talked about, that $100,000 a plate dinner, is a tax write-off. Is a tax write-off. You get audited if you do a tax write-off for your business if you take somebody out to lunch and spend $90. Let that marinate. Your lunch that you went out and spent in a business meeting for $90 could be audited. But this $100,000 a plate tax write-off compared to your $90 dinner business meeting tax write-off, they'll audit you before they audit them. Let's just be honest about it. Let's just be totally, totally honest about it. Let's keep an eye on this, see what comes out of this with them cutting the corners on the taxes. And we'll take it from there. We'll take it from there. Got a comment coming in. Russell Jenkins, most people get into government to get rich at the constituents' expense. Yeah, and that's the sad part about it. You go into, and I've said this many times on this show before, but I'm going to repeat it one more time. You go into the Senate, Congress, President, you make about 100 and some thousand, maybe 200 at the most $1,000 a year, all free health care and all the benefits you can think of. But then when you leave there, or while you're still there, if you become a career politician, you become a millionaire. And how did you become a millionaire? Not just by avoiding taxes, because you're rubbing elbows with the lobbyists who are greasing your pockets or donating to your funds or your benefits or your organizations to show that they're benefiting you financially through other means rather than giving it directly to your hand. And we still continue to put these people in, and they're millionaires when they walk out of there, all off of producing public policy, laws, and regulations. It's the best I can put it. It's the best I can put it. You know, this next segment is going to be pretty long. And it's probably going to take up the rest of the time before we get to the mind, body, and soul. But I think it's something that needs to be talked about. I think it's something needs, and you know, I'm very passionate about when I talk about this. And it's called, this segment is going to be called, Is Justice Being Served? Is justice being served? And a lot of people would think I'm talking about, you know, the indictments with Donald Trump and everything. I'm going to let them play out. We're going to let them play out and see what happens. But what I'm talking about right now is the difference in how sentences and crimes are looked at in the justice system. And I say it this way. This week we seen Enrique Tarrio, the former chairman of the far-right Proud Boys group, was found guilty of sedition conspiracy earlier this year for his role in the January 6th insurrection. On Tuesday afternoon, the judge weighed a variety of factors and handed down a sentence of 22 years, less than what prosecutors asked for, but still the longest January 6th sentence to date. Now, the prosecutors were asking for 33 years, if I recall. But he only got 22. Okay. For conspiracy against the United States government. Keep that in mind when I say that. Conspiracy to overthrow the United States government. Hold that thought. Last Thursday, Tarrio's convicted co-conspirator, Joe Biggs, was given a sentence of 17 years. Biggs first garnered right-wing fame as a correspondent for Alex Jones' InfoWars before leading the Proud Boys in violent clashes across the country. Prosecutors had sought 33 years for Biggs, arguing he was a vocal leader and influential proponent of the group's shift towards political violence. Fellow January 6th defendant Stuart Rhodes, the founder of the militia-associated Oath Keepers, earlier received a sentence of 18 years following his conviction for seditious conspiracy. On Friday, Proud Boy Lieutenant Ethan Nordian also received 18 years. So we're talking about 17, 18, 30, 22. So 17, 18, 18, and 22. Those are the sentences handed down to these people for the serious seditious conspiracy, against the United States government. These are the sentences they got for what happened on January 6th. There was another person, a zip tie guy, they called him, from Tennessee. He was sentenced Friday to nearly 5 years in prison in connection with the breach of the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. U.S. District Judge Roy C. Lambert sentenced Eric Munchell of Nashville to 57 months in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. Munchell, 32, was also ordered to pay $2,000 in restitution. 57 months is what he got, which is about 5 years in prison. and then supervised release 3 years. Muncho and his mother, Lisa Marie Eisenhart, 59 years old, what she was thinking being out there, were seen in photos and videos wearing tactical gear and carrying plastic zip tie style handcuffs that were allegedly stolen from a closet in the Capitol building on January 6th. Muncho's mother was also sentenced Friday to 30 months in prison. So we got 30 months, 57 months, 17 years, 18 years, 18 years, 33 years. 22 years, excuse me. So that's what the seditious conspiracy folks got. They had them on camera. They seen what they did. They were trying to overthrow the government. What they say is a seditious conspiracy. When what they're doing, I call it, terrorism, domestic terrorism, however you want to label it. That's what I label it, domestic terrorism. This is what we see going down in the convictions of these folks. And we still have the 18, 19, and the former President Trump down in Georgia with the RICO charges and everything that's going to go on with that. We got Giuliani with his charges in different places, Trump with all the different indictments he's got, things like, 79, 80 or something like that now. But we're going to see how all this turns out. But I bring this up because of this. This week, and y'all have heard me on this show, and I'm very adamant about this, but I'm going to go down this list one by one, because I think it's very important that we understand this. Reggie P. wrote, good morning, my brother. Appreciate your support. I want to go down this one by one because it's something that I feel needs to be heard, not just by people that look like me, but people who sit there and say justice is served. And I'm going to ask again, is justice being served? With these sentences that I just talked about, with the people that are going to be coming up for sentencing, Peter Navarro will be sentenced, I think, in another couple of weeks for not going and sitting in front of the January 6th committee, something about a subpoena that he had. He just ignored the subpoena, right? So these people are being sentenced to a couple of years here, a couple of years there, but let's go here. And they were found guilty by juries of their peers, as they say. But this week, 72-year-old Leonard Mack spent 46 years behind bars. Let me say that again. 72-year-old Leonard Mack served 46 years behind bars. In 1976, he was wrongfully convicted of rape and 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon. Let me get this. Wrongfully convicted of rape and 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon, but he served 46 years. Wrongly convicted. This is not the first Black African American man to ever serve this amount of time behind bars, but it's close to being the longest, is what they say. It says today, indisputable DNA evidence proves that Leonard Mack is innocent. Nearly 5 decades later, he finally has some measure of justice, say Innocence Project attorney Mary Catherine Smith. Mr. Mack's resilience and strength is why this day has finally come. Now let's get into this. A bombshell study in 2017 confirmed what Black people had long known to be true: that Black people are more likely to be wrongly convicted of murder than people from any other group. To add insult to injury of wrongful convictions, innocent Black people waited years longer than the average time it took a white prisoner accused of the same crime to be exonerated. I'm going to read that again for you. To add insult to injury of wrongful convictions, innocent Black people waited years longer than the average time it took a white prisoner accused of the same crime to be exonerated. It's no surprise that in this area, as in almost any other that has to do with criminal justice in the United States, race is the big factor. Now we hear politicians, these Fox News, let's just call it what it is, Fox News and everything. The justice system works. It works for the people and against the people who were never included into what the justice system was all about. That's what it's about. Raymond Hunter, in 1954, Puerto Rican gunmen shot up the House of Representatives protesting the island's 1848 annexation. Some received almost 50 years. There we go. Appreciate that, Raymond Hunter. Ain't heard from you in a while. Appreciate the support, my brother. 1954. Some received almost 50 years. 50 years. And that's considered an insurrection on the Capitol or whatever, House of Representatives, however you want to put it. It's still against the democracy. And anything that you go and read about terrorism, let's just go here for a minute. Thank you, Raymond Hunter. Let's go here for a minute. And I want to get this right because I talked about this many years ago on this show. So I don't want to make the wrong information, put the wrong information out there. But if I recall, terrorism is when you want to impose your will on the government somehow, some way, because you don't agree with it. So I'm going to go again with this insurrection that they keep calling it. Why aren't they calling it terrorism? Because as I mentioned many times before, when I talk about terrorism, if they look any other way, if their denomination or their their race was any different than who they are, this would have been labeled terrorism. We know it. You know it, I know it, they know it. But insurrection is what they want to keep calling it. Call it what it is. Appreciate you, Raymond Hunter. So let's get into this. The list of black men and women and teens who have faced wrongful convictions from prosecutors after being unjustly arrested and accused by corrupt police officers is far too long. Keep reading to find a growing list of additional examples. And I'm going to post this on my Facebook page as well, this article. James Battle, my brother, it's a two-tier justice system in America, but it's not the one that the Jim Jordans of the world talks about. It's based on race and class, not Democrats and Republicans. They want to distract people. Yes, and it bothers me when I see them sit up there at this time to say that the justice system has become politicized. The justice system is two-tiered of Republicans and Democrats and all this propaganda that they want to throw out there to make it seem like to those who are uneducated and uninformed that the only reason that former President Donald Trump and his cronies, as I'll call all of them, are being prosecuted for their injustices is because there's a two-tiered justice system when it comes to Republicans and Democrats. But I pause, and what bothers me the most is you never hear this when it comes to police officers killing innocent black men in the streets, gunning them down. You never hear about a two-tiered system when they're not held accountable for their actions. You never hear about a two-tiered system when a white man who has the right to carry in Florida shoots through a door and kills a young man or damn near kills him on the front porch because he rang the wrong doorbell. I could go on and on and on, but you never hear about this two-tiered system when it comes to African-American blacks being killed at the hands of white people who have the right to carry just because they have the right to carry, but you hear about a two-tier system when it comes to their political affiliation. And as I said, you cannot say there is no injustice in the justice system when the injustices are done to the people who the justice system was never put in place to protect, but rather to prosecute. Let's just be real with it. That's why this list that I'm going to go through, and I'm going to tell you how many it is. It's 29 people on this list, and this is just scratching the surface of those who've been convicted, who have been convicted wrongfully convicted, but have served many, many, many years. Where we have people who have the complexion for the protection who are committing crimes at a more rampant rate that they don't hear about, but they can afford a lawyer who is going to defend them and tells them not to take a plea deal and so on and so forth because the public defender and the judge and the other lawyer, the prosecuting attorney, all know each other. They go to lunch together. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but you know where I'm going. But then when we get black judges, African-American judges in these seats, they feel that they're only there because of affirmative action, and they don't take them seriously. And any time a case comes before them that they think is important, President Donald Trump, they want that judge to recuse themselves, not because they can't do their job, but because of the color of their skin. Their melanin content makes them feel that they should not be judged by that judge because they are superior to them. Call it what it is. Call it what it is. When you ask Supreme Court justices to recuse themselves from cases, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. But when you ask an African-American, black or African-American, to recuse themselves, people in uproar. Because what they're concerned about, and I'm gonna go off a little bit here, but y'all stand with me now. But what they're confused and what they're worried about is that judge who doesn't look like them doing a them to them. See, what they're worried about is that judge sentencing them like the ones we're going to talk about that have been wrongly convicted for years and years and years. Like, okay, well, we're going to make up for all the wrong y'all did on the time. That's not what we do as a people. When we go into positions, we go into positions to do the job with integrity, not for revenge. But that's the way they try to make the perception. First of all, they don't feel we're worthy to be sitting on the bench. Let's start there. And if we are on the bench, they don't feel that we should be the one prosecuting them because they're superior to us in their mindset. But when that non-colored judge sits up there and passes down these convictions and these sentences and so on and so forth, they consider them to be just. They consider them to be doing the justice system and doing the work that the justice system was established to do. Because 9 times out of 10, the people that are coming in front of that judge don't look like him or her. But when they do look like him or her, no matter what the jury, their peers say, no matter what they rule, that judge gives that defendant that looks like him or her the benefit of the doubt. You can't make this up. This is why I call this injustice. Is justice being served? No. Not according to the law. Not according to the law as it's written. Because depending on who you are, where you come from, and your monetary value as far as what you're perceived as, justice will not be served. But let me get into this. I'm sorry, I went all on that. I digress. I digress. Let's start off with Kenneth Nixon. Nixon was 19 years old when he was wrongly convicted of a murder he didn't commit. 19 years old. Now the 35-year-old black man who was just released in February of 2021 is suing the Detroit Police Department for stealing years of his life away. And I wish we all could be able to have the means to sue for wrongful convictions. Tyrone Day, exonerated black man. After decades in the system for a crime he didn't commit, Day, who was one of the Innocence Project's longest standing clients, was exonerated on May 24th after a 1990 sexual assault charge was dismissed. Day was only 19 years old at the time of his arrest, and after accepting a plea deal, he was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Although Day had pleaded guilty, he maintained his innocence. He spent 26 years of his life incarcerated until he was released on parole. But life was no easier. Day was forced to register as a sex offender. Let me slow down for a minute because I'm getting these words wrong. I'm getting excited about this. Excuse me, y'all. I'm passionate about this when I talk about it. Bring it together. Bring it together. Because I want y'all to get the understanding of when I name these men, I'm not naming them. I'm not naming them to let anybody know that I've done my research. No, I'm naming them to let you know how this justice system picks and chooses and how it starts from the arresting officers all the way up through the judge. And that accountability never goes back down the line or back up the line. It still stays with that one person that was convicted of a crime they didn't commit. David Wright, after serving 28 years in prison for a crime he did not commit, Wright finally was able to see his family, was accused of killing two men in Inglewood neighborhood when he was 17 years old. He was arrested after the case had gone cold for months. So they didn't have a victim or anything, so they arrested him. Sidney Holmes, 34 years of a 400-year prison sentence. 400-year prison sentence for participating in an armed robbery he never actually was involved with. So Sidney Holmes was convicted of 400 years in prison for a crime of robbery that he didn't even participate in. And out of those 400 years, he served 34. Ralph Blaine Smith, 21 years behind bars for a crime he didn't commit. In February 2023, he was released from prison after an Ohio prosecutor declined to pursue a new trial, instead chose to drop all charges. Declined to do a new trial because they knew they didn't have the evidence. Lamar Johnson, life sentence was overturned and the Missouri judge determined that he was wrongly convicted for a murder he never committed. He was in prison for nearly 28 years. Raymond Flanks, November 2022, after serving 40 years for a murder he did not commit, he was finally, his life sentence was vacated. Maurice Hastings, I think I talked about him, vacated after 38 years in prison for murder and 2 attempted murders in 1983. 69-year-old black man was released after DNA evidence that was left untested. The DNA evidence was left untested for years, pointed to a different person. Thomas Raynard James, 32 years. Let me just go through what they said. Vincent Simmons, wrongly convicted, 45 years behind bars. Devonian Inman, wrongly convicted for murder and robbery, 23 years behind bars. Kevin Strickland, 43 years behind bars. Muhammad A. Aziz and Khalil Islam. You know those names because they were convicted for the murder of Malcolm X or participated in the murder of Malcolm X. They were exonerated after their death. After new evidence implicated, the FBI and the New York Police Department were the ones who assassinated Malcolm X. Jawan Deary, 15 years for arson that he didn't commit. Herbert Alford, 5 years in prison, murder he didn't commit. Walter Forbes, 37 years. Arson and murder he didn't commit. Tremaine Joseph Hicks, rape that he didn't commit. Raymond Hunter, battle. Let's go here. I love to see Tim Scott be presented with these facts and have him explain why he believes the justice system is weaponized. I would love to see this in a public forum. Oh, we all would. He would be sweating. He would be sweating because he would have to justify why he says what he says when he says what he says. And it's not because he doesn't know the facts. It's because he says it for political gain. Let's just call it what it is. He wants to straddle that fence of being, I'm a black man, but I need these votes. Let's call it what it is. Raymond Hunter, as long as they can sanction the idea within the justice system, black scoring less on standardized tests, we will always have this issue. The absence of intellect defaults to proclivity to crime in their mind, and we end up disproportionately in prison. We are political prisoners. I couldn't have said it better myself. I'm glad you said it because I couldn't break it down like that. You know, I get passionate, I get caught up. Thank you, Raymond Hunter. Clifford Williams, Nathan Myers, spent 43 years in prison for a murder they did not commit. Williams was 33 and Myers was 18 when they were convicted. Calvin Bright, 25 years, double murder. Kevin Baker's son, Washington, 25 years for double murder. That's a long name. Hold on, y'all. Theophilus Wilson, 28 years for a triple murder he did not commit. Alfred Chestnut, Ransom Watkins, and Andrew Stewart, 36 years for a wrongful murder conviction. DeAndre Charles, he was 15 years old, they say he was accused, convicted of killing a rabbi. He ended up only serving maybe 3 years. Irrelevant to the fact he served time. Exonerated 5, we all know about them. Exonerated 5. Anthony R. Hinton, He was accused of 2 murders that took place. He spent 30 years in prison for murders he did not commit. He was exonerated in 2015. The movie Just Mercy is based on his life. Lamar Johnson served more than 13 years in prison. It's hard to read these, y'all. Wilbur Jones, 45 years in prison for rape he did not commit. Xavier Davis, he was jailed for months in 2018 for alleged assault that he did not commit. Davis was cleared of wrongdoing through DNA evidence. He told News One at the time, "I lost everything by going to jail. I lost my job and was homeless when I got out of jail." However, as of July 2021, Davis remained in jail. This is in 2021. Now I had to do some background on that to find out exactly where he's at now. Huey Burton was arrested at the age of 16 for killing of his mother. His confession was coerced by detectives, and after spending nearly 20 years behind bars and another 10 on parole, he was exonerated in 2019. Now there was one in here, and I skipped over it, and I want to find it. I want to find this because it's something that I think really tells you that they're not looking for who did it. They're just looking for someone. They're just looking for someone. Where'd it go? I can't find it off the top of my head, and I don't want to hold up on this. But basically, one of these people, one of these men, was convicted of murder. And the only way, what they asked him for, and the reason they took him in, was when they pulled him over and arrested him, they asked him to produce a receipt to show that he had been where he was. A receipt to show he had been where he said he was. And years, 15, 20 years later, he's exonerated because they didn't have the evidence to charge him. Now, I read all these because I want you to pay attention to what's going on with these trials right now. They're not murder. They're not rape, arson, any of those things. But they're crimes. Let's just call it what it is. They're crimes. And what we're seeing with these crimes that the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and them 22 years, 18, 17, 5 years, months, whatever. We're seeing these crimes and we're seeing these convictions, and don't be fooled to think that these aren't puppets in the game, pawns in the chess game. Because by sentencing them to what they're sentencing them, a lot of people look at it and say justice is being served, but is it? Because here's the thing. These are foot soldiers. These are foot soldiers in what happened on January 6th. The main planners, perpetrators, the men behind the curtain, as I like to say, are the politicians, the lawyers, the Jenny Thomases, all those people that we heard their names thrown around, that this January 6th is going to be wild. January 6th is going to be this. Those were the ones contributing funds for the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys to be able to do what they did. It's one of those things like they said, well, you know, they're going after the little fish per se. But I want you to keep an eye on this, because just because they got those amount of sentences, don't be fooled. And don't think that this justice system is going to do the same thing for those people like the Donald Trumps, the Rudy Giulianis, and all those. Pay attention on how this justice system works in these cases coming up. It's going to tell you everything you need to know. And if you look at it, let's look at what R. Kelly was charged with. He was charged more with racketeering and RICO charges than he was on the minors that they said he was imprisoning and so on and so forth. When we look at RICO charges down in Georgia with Young Thug and YSL and all those charges that are coming to be, some of those are still going through trial. Some are still sitting in jail waiting for a trial date. But all these people were let out on bond. Why? Because the justice system is not serving the justice in the manner that it should. And that's why I bring these things up, because I want everybody to pay attention Michelle and Summer, exoneration doesn't seem to mean a whole lot once you've taken someone's innocent and prisoned them away. You know, I'm glad you brought that up because to be exonerated only means that they're saying that what they convicted you of doing, you didn't do. But you listen to the amount of years that they served behind bars. All those years, 28 years, 25 years, 17 years, 16 years, however many years there are that these people serve. Exoneration is only a word to them. It has no meaning because you've taken away 28 years of my life to be an upstanding citizen in this world off of wrongful conviction. Something that I told you I didn't do. But the justice system working its way that it wanted to, not the way it should, but the way it wanted to, convicted me of a crime I didn't commit and took away the years of my family, my loved ones, my friends, my career, any potential that I may have had for those 28 years or whatever many years you served wrongfully have been taken away. And there's nothing you can do to help me other than the word to say exoneration. Not sorry. Not sorry. But you've been exonerated. Not that you didn't do it, but you've been exonerated. Not that our system did you wrong or you shouldn't have been convicted or anything like that. Accountability from the police, arresting officers, all the way up to the judge. Nothing to them, but you've lost 28 years or however many years being wrongly convicted. And then we hear people say, but he's still here. Yeah, he's still here. And we're glad that he or she is still here. But let's think about what they've lost. And all those police officers, prosecutors, judges, families of the victims, think about what they've gained in those 28 years that that man or woman lost over something they did not do. Raymond Hunter, exactly. The goal is to remove you from the workforce during the productive years, destroying your family, stopping opportunity for generational wealth. Thank you. I'm passionate about this, y'all. And I'm gonna keep on talking about it. I'm gonna keep on filing these cases that's coming up because here's what I know to be true. We get comfortable with the fact that we know the system is rigged or however you want to name it. But we can't get comfortable with the fact of the people that we know are in the system continuing to rig it accordingly against us. Oh man. I'm just thinking about all those years of knowing that you didn't do what they said you did, but you're being held accountable for 28 years, 15 years, hell, 6 months, 24 hours. Let's break it down to the 24 hours you're being convicted of something you did not do. And that at that time, everything and anything that you ever thought you may be able to accomplish in this life, it's just trickling away. Because no one's trying to help you. No one's coming to your defense. All because of your melanin content. That's it. All because of the color of your skin. You will never see a list that long. That was 28 names I just read. You will never see a list of 28 names of people of non-color being exonerated per se for crimes they didn't commit. at any time. Anytime. I don't care where you look. You can look high or low. You ain't going to find it. You're not going to find it. Let's get into this. Mind, body, and soul year 2023. It's all about getting back to being who you are. It's all about being and getting back to who you are, knowing who you are, and being the best you that you can be today. It's just 4 words, y'all. Just 4 words. Just 4 words. It's very simplistic, and it's something we all can relate to. And today's phrase, I'm going to say phrase. Always remember your why. Always remember your why. What is your why? Do you know what your why is? And I asked that question because I had to ask myself, do I know what my why is? And the why is not just the letter Y, W-H-Y. Always remember your why. You know, as life goes on and we grow, we evolve, and things change in our lives, different things happen, jobs and anything, you know, trials and tribulations. We tend to lose focus of why we do what we do, why we are where we are, why we're in relationships, why our friendships are who they are and with who they are, and why are we doing all the things you can think about why. You know, it's those 5, the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. Why? I will say it this way to you. If you've lost your understanding of your why, do some searching. Think back to why you started, and it will help you understand why you're where you're at right now. See, a lot of times in our relationships, in our jobs, and we get complacent. Let's just call it what it is. We get complacent, and we get complacent because it gets comfortable. And sometimes we got to get uncomfortable with being comfortable, and becoming uncomfortable with being comfortable means you got to start asking yourselves questions of why you do what you do. Why are you in this? Why do you continue to be where you are and with who you are and continue to do the things that you continue to do? That all comes into asking that question. It can be a hard question for some folks. Let's be real. Knowing your why and always remembering your why sometimes becomes a hard pill to swallow, because in times of where we have a difference of opinions with someone, we have to ask ourselves, why do I still deal with this fool? And I hate to say it that way. Why do I still deal with this person per se? Because we get so comfortable that that person has been around for so long that we take them for granted. But I'll say it in this way, and when we talk about relationships, and you can expand it into other things, but when you know your why and you concentrate on your why in those times of disagreements, in those times of when you don't see eye to eye, in those times when you look at your spouse or your significant other or even your children or your parents and you say, you're getting on my last nerve today. Go back to your why. Why do you love them? Why do you care for them? Why are they in your life? And then the biggest question you have to ask yourself sometimes is, why do they allow me to be a part of their life? See, that's one of those questions that we don't concentrate on. Why do people in my circle, in my relationships, in my family, why do they allow me to still be a part of their life with all my faults, with all my wrongs? Why? Always remember your why, but you first have to dig deep to find out what is your why in everything that you do and who you are. It goes to the core. Once you start establishing that and understanding what your why is and why this, why that, once you start really digging into that and getting a better understanding of what makes you tick and talk and all those things about why you do what you do and why you are where you are and why these people in your life and why they allow you to be a part of their life, you will realize that your life is so much clearer when you understand your why. Now we all know I'm strongly based in my faith. And one thing we can't forget is our understanding in our faith and why we believe what we believe. But in that, know your why. In every situation, in every relationship, in everything you do, know your why. And remember your why. When you get in these situations and things don't seem like they're going to work out for you, or you get these agree to disagree moments and everything like that, think about your why. It'll clearly open up the fact that you know exactly where you stand. Not only with the people in your life, but with yourself. With yourself. With yourself. Always remember your why. Establish it, understand it, and it can change. Let's be real. Your why can change in different situations. But the best thing to do is know your why. Once you know your why, then you can resort back to that when those trials and tribulations come along. Know your why. Always remember your why once you establish your why. Let's go ahead and wrap this up for today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hey, look, it was 2 weeks off. I had a good time on my vacation, but I'm also have a good time every time I can come on with y'all on a Saturday morning. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Go to the website. Go to the YouTube page, subscribe, share, get a lot of people involved. We're going to be talking about a lot of things that deal with life, a lot of things that dealing with our everyday interactions with people, with what's going on in this world. Make sure you tune in, share it with other folks, and we're going to continue doing what we do here on the Speak on the Show. Got another barbershop talk coming up, probably not next weekend, but the weekend after, but we'll play it by ear, see if everybody's available, because getting a lot of feedback on that. So, and we're 11 years, y'all. We're hitting 11 years. 11 years. Speak on the Show has been in existence for 11 years, coming to the end of September. So OT's working something up to do a show for that. So we'll see what comes out with that. But I appreciate everybody tuning in. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely, keep your faith in God. I'll see y'all again next week, and I'll holler. Know your why. Establish your why. And always remember your why. I love y'all, and I'm out. Peace.